This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am joined once again by winemaker Emily Faulconer, who is joining us all the way from Santiago in Chile. And we are going to be tasting the bottle of wine that I can see right behind you there, Emily, so discreetly placed on the shelf. This one here, this is the 2021 Gran Reserva Carménère.
Carménère, yeah.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about this wine. The grape itself is kind of a polarizing one for some people. And I think that may have something to do with some of the Carménère wines that were in our market some time ago. I've seen them become a lot more accessible and perhaps not as polarizing recently. Would that be a fair enough observation?
I think it's a very fair observation. Carménère is a tricky grape variety to grow. And I think everything that has happened in the past with this grape variety was for a reason. And I'll very briefly say that Carménère is a grape variety that is originally from Bordeaux, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that properly.
Both are fine.
And it disappeared from Bordeaux. And we didn't know we had it in Chile until 1994, that it was rediscovered in the Carme. Actually, it was rediscovered in the Carmen vineyards by an ampelographer, a French ampelographer. And in Chile, we did not know that we had Carménère until this time. So we had it mixed up with Merlot.
What did you think it was?
Merlot.
Right.
We thought it was Merlot. I think the people in the vineyard already knew because they talked about the early Merlot and the late Merlot. It's funny how, well, until today, we have some vineyards that are still mixed up with Merlot and Carménère. Anyway, so I think that in Bordeaux, it disappeared because it did not ripen there, because it had low crop, because of the conditions that they have in spring. So this Carménère has a defect in the male part of the flower. So if you have bad conditions in spring during flowering, you have a bad fecundation of the flower and hence a low productivity. So I think probably the French, when phylloxera came in, they said, we are not replanting this grape variety, forget it. And if it does have grape on it, it's going to end up green. So we had it here in Chile, we didn't know about it. And in the 90s, when we discovered that we had it, we thought, at the beginning, it was like a big fright for winemakers. Like, we're a fraud, we've been selling Merlot, and it's actually not Merlot, blah, blah, blah. What's the market going to think about it? Some winemakers were thinking, wine producers saying, let's just keep quiet about this. And then there were these others that were a little bit braver and said, no, this is an opportunity. We should go out there and sell Carménère, and it's unique to Chile. And Carmen was one of those. And in '96, we labeled the first wine as Carménère. And actually it did quite well. I think it was in Canada that it got a very good score and everything. Anyway, that went on, and a lot of people got into this boat and started producing Carménère. But the fact is that Carménère needs very specific conditions to be able to ripen properly and to have a good taste profile. It can be very green. It's very high as a grape variety in persons, which is this component that is green pepper, like how do you say, ají, chilies, spices, which is the magic of Carménère, but also if it's too much, it can be negative. And I think a
little bit of that can go a long way and sometimes dominate the wine entirely. And I think that was the problem with many of those wines we were getting maybe a decade ago.
So I think that was it was a bad start to it, because it had, as a lot of the Carménère wasn't placed in the right location, and also young vines tend to be greener.
Right.
It created like this image that Carménère isn't good. But today, nearly 30 years later, it's a completely different story. We've moved to Colchagua. This wine is 100% from Colchagua, specifically from Apalta, that is a warm valley. It has soils that have a percentage of clay that retain water, and it produces a kind of stress on the vine, and so that the vegetative growth stops, and that means that the persons stop developing. And that allows us to pick the grapes ripe, but still fresh and with a Carménère character. And what used to happen before is that as you didn't have the I can't say this very well in English.
Vegetative.
The green vegetative character and growth, we couldn't stop it. The wines had to be over-ripened to be, and
yes, I see. Yes,
and over-ripen the grapes and burn it in the end, because you had to, the way of getting rid of the greenness was actually burning the grapes, and Carménère used to be picked in May, when the vines didn't have any leaves left, and today it's different, or at least we work in a different way. We manage to pick ripe but fresh, which is the concept, and you get the Carménère character, but the attractive Carménère. This is you can't deny this is a Carménère. It's a very proud Carménère, because it has the pepper, but the floral side, herbs, but not green. You know, there's a difference there. And in the palate, it's fresh, it's juicy.
I think perhaps with some of those wines from a long time ago, you sometimes had the worst of both worlds, because you would have that green aspect and that desiccation, and that burnt fruit, which was just disgusting, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people were really put off the grape itself because of those wines they tasted back then.
Yeah, it was like green jam. I don't know.
Yes,
like
yeah.
It was like a chutney character.
Yes, yeah. I hear you on that. And
yes,
this is the kind of Carménère that I would love to. I'm always looking for versions of this grape that it would be nice to educate someone about this grape, this variety with. And I've come across a couple of those recently, and this one definitely falls into that category. What do you find on the nose of this one here?
Well, I find a lot of spices.
Yes, yep.
A little bit of clove, pepper, and some herbs like laurel, tobacco leaf. It's very expressive in the nose, and Carménère normally is.
And what kind of oak treatment does this particular wine get?
This wine we age in French oak barrels, but that are very old. So we have barrels here that are over 10 years old. Yeah, no, I love old barrels. Sometimes they try to force me to throw them away, that they've reached their life expectancy. Right, okay. But I like to keep they've been kept well. They work very well. So this wine has been aged. I find it integrates the palate, the nose. I like oak, and stainless steel. A percentage of the wine is in stainless steel,
and that helps.
So you can see probably, Jamie, that the oak is very subtle here. It's more for the texture.
I hear you.
And the evolution before going into bottle.
And there's some very pleasant tannin management going on here. The tannin is it's definitely present, but it's by no means aggressive.
So Carménère is known for its silky tannins. It's a very delicate palate. In terms of acidity and pH, it's not a grape variety that has a high acidity. So it's very mild. It's very smooth. And I think in the picking dates that we use, you still get a little bit of that freshness, that juiciness. But it's a very easy to drink wine.
But the acidity it's not a soft wine. It's still the acidity is still present, right? Giving it that freshness. Yeah. Now, in your years with Carmen, you must have done so many winemakers' dinners and events and things like that. What would you, or what have been your favorite pairings with this particular wine?
I think with this wine, I think it goes very well with pasta.
Yeah,
I've had it with gnocchis, homemade gnocchis with butter and sage. It works very, very well, and also with porcini, risotto. I like doing that here at home also, and with this wine. But it goes well with a lot of things. Roast works very well.
Yeah, it's quite a versatile wine. I think this is quite lovely. I'm enjoying this, and we'll enjoy it for dinner this evening, most definitely.
Ah, great.
As it is, as I said, it is a bit early for me to be tasting wine at this time of day.
Yes.
Emily, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today and tasting through the Gran Reserva Carménère from Carmen 2021.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Excellent. Bye for now.
Great to talk to you. Salud.